So the next speaker will be Professor Jennifer Phillip, who will be speaking on the topic, Palliative Care is Not the End. So Jenny is the Chair of Palliative Care at the University of Melbourne and a physician in palliative medicine at St Vincent's Hospital, Peter Mac, the Royal Melbourne Hospital, and also lead for palliative care in the VCCC. Jenny is passionate about ensuring care is underpinned by high quality evidence, and she leads the Palliative Medicine Research Group. So please join me in welcoming Jenny.
When someone we love becomes ill, naturally we want them to have the best possible healthcare available. But sometimes this doesn't happen. At times, this is because there's misunderstanding around the nature of care in serious illness, particularly the nature of palliative care. I'm talking about the difference between palliative care and end-of-life care. There is a difference. And misunderstandings around this means that some people make decisions about their health care for themselves or for their family members that means that their care falls short. As a palliative care doctor, I really see this as a missed opportunity. Imagine for a moment a person with cancer that has recurred or spread. If we're in that situation, think of all the things that we would really want from our health care to ensure that we got the best possible care and also that we lived fully. And I'd like you to think of those things all coming together, interwoven as a tapestry of care. Our tapestries might differ a bit because we all have our differences, so there'll be shades of colour, texture, different hues, but there will be some things that we all share in common in our tapestry of care that we need. For example, we all want access to the best possible cancer treatments of the cancer itself. And alongside that, there are other things that we need also. For example, we want information, not only about the cancer and its treatment, but also about what to expect, perhaps about the future. Most of us want the opportunity to put our values, the things that are really important to us, on the table so that we can talk about this with our healthcare providers and so that these things can be incorporated into the decisions that we reach around our healthcare, the choices that we make. If we get pain, we want the best of medicine and science to solve that pain. And we also want those other aspects of ourselves that make us human. After all, we're more than a cancer diagnosis and a set of symptoms. We want those things, our relationships that we hold, our spiritual side. We want those things acknowledged and, if need be, attended to or given support. Our families need to feel safe. And when we're at home, we need to know who to call if we've got troubles, have a safety net in place. And if and when we're facing our dying in the last days or potentially week or two of our lives, then we also want expert care at that time. Now, this is the whole tapestry of care that we need. And this tapestry, this whole thing, is what we call palliative care. All of the aspects are important, including end-of-life care, which perhaps sits down here at that bottom right-hand corner. It's one component of the whole aspect of care. And we know that when palliative care is introduced early, actually people do better. They have better quality of life. They're more likely to have their care that matches their preferences because they've talked about it with their doctors. Their families do better, they're better supported, they fare better psychologically. And interestingly, there's a whole body of research that's emerging now that suggests that when people access this tapestry of palliative care early, then actually they live longer. So there's all these benefits of palliative care, and yet some people, because they equate palliative care with end-of-life care, and end-of-life, dying, is very frightening, then they avoid this and they miss out on all these potential opportunities and possibilities. Palliative care, when we introduce this tapestry early, leads to better outcomes for people in these situations. And it also leads to better dying if that needs to be negotiated at that bottom right-hand corner. Let me tell you about Jill, not her real name. Jill was too busy to get cancer. She and her partner Rob were in the throes of building careers and raising a young family. They had 3 kids. The littlest one was still in kindergarten. So this diagnosis of lung cancer came right out of the blue. When I met Jill, she was having a pretty tough time. Her surgery had gone well, but her surgeon was concerned that there were some features of her cancer that meant that she was at risk that it might return. And she was still having quite a bit of pain from her surgery, and that meant she wasn't sleeping properly. And she was about to embark on quite intensive radiotherapy. So when she came to the palliative care clinic that day, we focused on trying to improve her pain management and sorting out her radiotherapy schedule to make sure that she could do the kindergarten drop-off and pick up. A couple of weeks later when she came back, she was in a much better place. Her pain was better and that had freed her up to do a few things. She was talking about her cancer diagnosis and what it meant. And she talked about how she's really focused on beating this. Because she was so much, in such a good space and she was pretty busy with all her cancer treatments, we agreed that we would just make contact if she needed me, and we didn't have any formal follow-up. Unfortunately, that was sooner than any of us could have imagined. About 6 weeks after Jill finished her cancer treatment, she developed a new pain. Her cancer was back and it had spread. The next period of time was a real roller coaster for Jill and her family. She had a series of cancer treatments. Some of them worked for a while and some not. I saw her a number of times over that period. We dealt with some symptoms that arose, and we also had a series of conversations around what was going on. At one point she was talking about hope, and I asked her what she hoped for. And she said, I'm hoping to, I'm really hoping to beat this cancer, or at least keep it at bay. And then she paused for a moment and quietly offered that what was really important was that she hoped that she was a good mum. These conversations were hard and brave, and she was very generous. And over the next bit of time, she started to think about the future, including a future where she may not be there. And she started to put things in place for her family, just in case. All the while, she was having cancer treatments and giving herself the best possible chance. Jill's palliative care evolved over time. It included symptom relief, it included conversations, and all the while it included her having ongoing cancer treatments. Jill's palliative care was about living and about support, come what may. Jill was required to face that bottom right-hand corner far too soon. And yet she did it on her own terms. She'd put things in place for her kids. She'd prepared books of what she called important things for each of them, which she gave to them. She had key conversations, and she ensured that there was a community of dear and loved people around Rob supporting him. So when she died, her family were there, her kids were there, and she was in her own home surrounded by her own things. And it was clear to us all that she was a great mum. So palliative care is about living fully and according to what makes life meaningful, whatever the circumstances, until we die. So is palliative care the end? No. Palliative care is that tapestry that provides the support for people who are doing that really creative piece of work that is their last phase of life. Thank you.